within a very short period of time after, had a headache, went in and basically has terminal brain cancer.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's the value of being in this, this career and what it really can provide that could give people like me who had a childhood like mine the chance to be really successful. There is never job security. Working in now on the corporate side of things, there's always, changes that happen, organizational structure changes, and you could be doing phenomenal and then you might wake up the next day and there just, could be a restructure and you no longer have a position.
All right, cool. So here today with Katie Martineau from Guardian Home Office. I know that your path to our team has been pretty eventful and just a long time in the industry. I don't want to say a short time with us now because it feels like you're still new, but it's now been what, 5 years, six
It'll be
years
5 years. Yeah.
that you've been supporting us from the home office side. Head of recruiting
Hmm.
at Guardian. So
That's
really
correct.
supporting us in our role of bringing new advisors in, developing, training, and really helping give the best environment for advisors in our firm.
Absolutely.
So can you tell us a little bit about how you got into the business?
Yeah, sure. So, first of all, thanks for having me here in sunny Florida. I live in Connecticut and it's January, so happy to be in the warm weather. So I started in this business when I was 19 years old. I had an interesting, challenging childhood growing up and have been self supported since I was 17. And at the time, I was going to college full time and I was working as a gym membership sales representative full time and just trying to live day to day. And I met my managing partner. And honestly, he saw something in me that I did not see in myself. Brought me into the firm, and I went through the regular recruiting process. And if I'm being transparent, I failed every single part. I didn't have a project 200 to complete. I didn't even have 5 names to put on there. I didn't have a market. I was living paycheck to paycheck and struggling to pay my bills and go to school. So I was the worst candidate if you looked at it on paper. But he did see, grit, perseverance, and again, he saw something in me that others didn't see, and he decided to take a chance. So he took a chance on me, and I started cold calling for some top advisors in the firm. I literally would open up a phone book and make cold calls, and that's how I got started in this wonderful business. I got pretty good at it, and I said, man, like they're making all the money and I'm doing the hard part. So got my licenses and I grew. I grew in the firm. I was there for over a decade. I stepped into leadership, and always my passion from a leadership capacity standpoint was bringing new folks into the firm and helping them be successful. And it was because I saw the opportunity that this career could give. It could give people like me who had a childhood like mine the chance to be really successful. There's no glass ceiling, there's no background that's needed. You don't have to come from wealth to be successful here. It takes those characteristics that we're looking for, which I wanted to give to others, which what my managing partner gave to me. So that's why I am so passionate about recruiting. And that's how I kind of started leaning more from management into the recruiting world. At the time, this was a New England financial firm. The industry goes through a lot of mergers and acquisitions. New England Financial merged with MetLife. MetLife identified me as one of their top recruiters, and that's where I went to a regional recruiting team where we were really focused on only at this bringing on experienced advisors, MDRT level and above. Did that for a few years. Really worked alongside a wonderful RVP who helped me develop from a strategic mindset perspective. And then, of course, another merger and acquisition in this business. And Mass Mutual merged with MetLife. And I went over to Mass Mutual, grew and developed over there as well. And when I decided to join Guardian at the time at Mass Mutual, I was leading advisor teaming and field recruiting. But met some Guardian folks through an industry study group I was with, and I saw something special in Guardian. It really reminded me a little bit about the old New England Financial that I had started with, a very entrepreneurial system, general agency run, which I love. I love being a part of the field where the general agents are the owners, and really like the freedom and flexibility that I saw at Guardian was something that I was passionate about. So I joined Guardian and I haven't looked back since.
Yeah. And I think one of the really cool things is the beginning of your career. I always joke, I'm like, you're one of us. So you're home office, but you're like a player coach. So you know what it's like to live in the trenches and you know what it's like to relate to us rather than people in the past that are just kind of reading out of a book saying, hey, I heard you should do this or this is how you could do it. You're saying this is what's going to work. This is what's really going to help your people. This is what's going to help you get more bodies in here. This is what's going to help you really develop those people that are, like you said, they have the raw talent or the potential
Hmm.
and then turn them into a high level advisor.
Yeah.
And from Jerry, your perspective, kind of on the higher leadership side of the GA, um, Katie and I work together more on like the hands-on, like boots on the ground side. But what have you seen kind of in her experience of being here with helping you on the leadership side?
I mean, I think probably the biggest thing is when we sit back and you probably can attest to this coming from different firms, the Guardian system is the most entrepreneurial system that exists.
Hmm.
And for it's okay. Um, and so being in a very entrepreneurial system, we have the ability to create our own destiny, and everybody has the opportunity to sit back and say, like, what do I want this to look like for myself 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road? And that's a tough message to really to convey to new people who might be exploring this opportunity. And what really intrigued me about what you were talking about was just the grind that you
Mm.
have to go through early on, because young, new advisors, that work ethic is hard to instill in them nowadays. And so if I was going to sit back and say, like, tell me about the first hours of your day in the grind getting started in this business, and then maybe tie into that the value proposition that you see within the Guardian system, having come from different firms.
Yeah. So great question. So at the first few hours from a new FR's perspective, just so that I'm clear. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Um,
what's that going to look like for someone who just wants to get into this business and really has no idea what it means to be an entrepreneur, like the
yeah.
fire hydrant?
So this is the most beautiful business from my standpoint, with, as I mentioned earlier, the opportunity for anybody to come in and really be the maker of their own success, but it takes that grit, that grind, that perseverance. So you really have to have a strong work ethic. You got to be able to take a lot of no's. You got to be able to, come in on those days that you don't want to come in on. Like, it does take a certain person and characteristic. And I do think that we have a lot of the next generation coming in. They have those characteristics. We got to find the right folks. So we all know who they are, like taking a look at college athletes. My daughter is a college athlete, and seeing her, she's in her second year. She plays softball at ECU now. Seeing her first year through the eyes of a parent, I was like, nobody works harder than a college athlete. The amount of hours she put into school and that she put into her, into her Division I sport is incredible. Like, hands down, I was like, they work harder than almost anybody I know. So those kids grind it out. So it takes that type of work ethic and passion, and you got to have some tough skin. You got to have some tough skin to be in this business and really want it. If you have that path laid out for you, the future is yours. The future is really
Yeah.
yours. And so that's what I think it's got to take. And we have that talent in the next generation. We've got to help draw it out of them, I think, a little bit, and help develop them as well.
Yes, 'cause you've seen a lot of changes within the Guardian system in the 5 years that you've been with us.
Hmm.
Talk to us about the value proposition that you see. So, if
Yeah.
like a national recruiting perspective,
Yeah.
people are going to say, "Well, how are you different?" And I think our advisors always kind of struggle with that. Well, how are we different?
Yeah.
But if I'm a new potential prospect coming in, like how would you say we're different because of this?
Yeah. So the Guardian has so many, unique differences when it comes to how we support and develop folks. So one of the things that we're, number one, most proud of is when it comes to our peer competitors, we historically, year over year, have some of the best retention, and we have the highest average cases per producer when we look at our peer competitors. So what does that tell us? that tells us that we're really good at bringing in new financial professionals, new advisors. We're good at keeping them, training them, developing them, helping them grow those books of business and get in front of clients in a favorable way. And we're great at helping them get productive. So we have some of the best numbers in the business. And so I think like hands down, that's one of the reasons that makes us stand out from the peer competitors, as well as we talked a little bit about before from an entrepreneurial standpoint. Guardian is a true entrepreneurship culture. We're not a managerial system. You can come in here and you can really make your business model, the way you want to see yourself grow as a financial professional. And there's so many paths you can take. So you might want to grow as a financial advisor. Maybe you want to lead a team. You want to focus on a certain market. Guardian's going to help support that. Maybe like leadership's your gig and you start to grow and develop and you want to lead people and you want to, kind of take the path that I took, where I had such a passion for bringing folks into this profession. That was really my calling. Like that's an opportunity for you here as well. Like there's so many opportunities and pathways. I feel with such an entrepreneurship culture, it's a choose your own adventure. And you're not going to get that at other places, folks. You're going to get that here at one of the Guardian Network firms.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the really cool things about what we do is at the local level, we know how we train and develop and recruit our people. And then we have meetings with you where we talk about, okay, what are other firms doing across the country that we could steal and really implement with our firm? Talk about how nationwide, I know because we talked about this at one of our conferences, how as a national company, we've been able to bring in more talent while other large companies are losing talent or having less or negative recruiting years while we're continuing to grow in size.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up, because I'm certainly proud of the results that we've had since I joined in 2021, where we actually just had our 3-peat year in 2025. So we had year-over-year growth in 2023. In 2024, we hit our national number from a recruiting perspective. And in 2025, we did it again and we exceeded where we needed to be. So we are continuing to grow and develop and retain folks. And as you mentioned, we get industry reports that show us a lot of our peer competitors, they're down year over year in recruits and they're down over bad years. So, kind of what's happening and what's making us special. I do think it is our, culture of what I say healthy organizational growth, where we do see the opportunity for this next generation to come in and be able to build a business for themselves. And we have a lot of passion around that. And I think there's a lot of messaging from that from our firms across the country and our principal owners, and really having that kind of drive where I think other organizations, maybe they're pulling back on bringing in that next generation of talent. Maybe they're only focused on experienced advisor recruiting, which means you recruit a little bit less, which isn't good for the profession. We need new talent and we need new folks to help serve our communities and make sure that all the demographics in the communities are getting the financial advice that they need so that they can plan for their futures, plan for college, plan for retirement. Yeah. So I think that it's just been a healthy recruit first culture is the change that I've seen.
Well, I think it's also, when you sit back and look at the product offering that the Guardian provides for us, it's like we've got the independent feel that we want with the backing of a 160 some odd year company. But if we look, I joined Guardian in 2004, where our investment platform was, let's just say, lacking in almost everything. And the investment that the home office has made to make this probably one of the most robust wealth management platforms that exists, it now gives us the opportunity to truly do that holistic wealth management that the clients nowadays are asking for. Like they want us to be able to do the protection side and as well as the wealth management side and the estate planning side. And so I think a lot of the reason why the success of the recruiting has been there is because we have something to be very proud of when we go out to that marketplace and say, hey, when you come here, here's the value proposition that we get. And that's been a significant investment that the home office has made in the last, I'd say 7 to 10 years.
Mhm.
And it's really starting to pay dividends.
Yeah, absolutely. Being that holistic planner for your clients, because that's what clients are looking for. They want to work with, one person, one team, go to one
Mhm.
place. They don't want to have, a bunch of different advisors that they're working with across different
Mhm.
companies. And you can't plan for a client in the right way unless you have the whole picture, as you all know.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about some of these companies that are focusing on experienced advisors with books of business.
Hmm.
I think one of the things that we do really well is for a 150 plus year old company, we pivot and we adapt and we really bring in experienced and inexperienced people.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about what top candidates, so these college athletes or experienced advisors, are looking for when they're picking a firm and why we are in line with what they're doing? Because a
Hmm.
lot of these companies are just they're stuck in their ways and it's our way or the highway. And what we've really done to adapt to bring in all different types of people.
Yeah, so great question. So from, an inexperienced standpoint, I touched on it earlier. As I mentioned, I think one of the, Guardian does a great job and it's proven, in the studies that we see where we really help develop people. We're not hiring, thousands of recruits, which we do see happen in this business, and they kind of,
Mhm.
see who sticks to the wall. We're increasing our recruiting growth, but it's healthy because we want to identify the right people and we want them to have success. So, like, I think that's, part of if I'm a new person coming in, like, I want to be a part of a company that wants me to be successful and isn't hiring
Mhm.
thousands of folks and seeing who stick. We're more vested. We're invested in their growth. So, I think from an inexperienced standpoint, that's just one of the things that I see. From an experienced advisor standpoint, I mean, you hit it on the head with how we're growing our platform and how we really are holistic advisors through Park Avenue Securities and the broker dealer that has been built over the past
Mhm.
7 years. You can come here and you can do it all, as well as the independence that we provide, where you can have your own DBA. You can really build that practice to where you see fit versus, again, our other competitors. You might not be allowed to have a DBA. You might not be able to grow
Right.
your practice in the markets
Mhm.
that are most important to you. You have to align more with what the company's looking for.
Well, and even like the non-captive nature of our career contract and Guardian with Ash Brokerage are just allowing us the ability, because Guardian knows where they want to be the best and they know where they
Yep.
want to be in your clients' lives, but they also know that there's certain situations where, that's not necessarily a good fit, but they want us to be able to go out there and service that client and bring those types of different carriers and companies to the table. So they really give us exactly what we want, is that autonomy and that
Yes.
independence. But we know that the guardian standing behind us, our clients, guardian's never going to have to apologize to a client. And you see a lot of firms out there in the industry kind of apologizing for some things that have been happening recently. And
That's
so,
right.
you
Yeah.
know, it puts a black eye on all of us. But I think one of the things you said is, just stealing experienced advisors from one firm to the next, it's not growing the industry.
Hmm.
And we have this like massive responsibility to the next generation of people who are trying to learn out how to manage their money to bring in new people and grow the industry, because the industry itself is shrinking
That's right.
dramatically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think one of the really telling things about our growth is so many of our competitors are trying to lure advisors over with big checks.
Hmm.
We're not writing big checks and we're still having positive growth because of the culture, because of the products,
Mhm.
because
Right.
of the feel at the local level. Can you talk to us
Absolutely.
a little bit about when you're getting feedback or whenever you're talking to advisors outside of just the pure money, what the deciding factor of why they picked us is? Is it like the local level leadership? Is it the infrastructure? Is it what are the top things that
Hands
they're looking?
down, it's at the local level,
Okay.
right? So hands
Mhm.
down, I think that the, financial professionals, financial advisors are joining our Guardian Network firms because of folks like you, right? Our general agents, or principal
Yeah,
owners.
right. Contract, change. We're titled differently now.
The firm leadership teams, the managing directors, and the value that all of you deliver. Like when you look across, like the value prop that you all provide is incredible. And a lot of times, they might be, again, depending on where they're coming from, their manager might not be checking in with them after the
Mhm.
first 3 or 4 years, depending on how that manager is building their unit and getting paid. And they might feel alone on an
Right.
island, and
Yeah.
they come here and all of you are giving them the support to understand what matters most to their business, what matters most to their lives, and how can you help them take them to the next level. It is hands down the local leadership and is the reason why folks are coming over.
I think too, the local leadership matters. The living balance sheet.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second too, because I think one of the things that so much of our industry, I came from a Wall Street background, and really what we were doing all the time was asking clients to answer questions that they couldn't possibly know the answer to. Like, hey, like what rate of return do you want to get over the next 30 years? Or what's the taxes going to be in the future? And all that other stuff. And there wasn't a core belief system. It was plug and play. And the living balance sheet and the philosophy behind all aspects of protection, wealth accumulation, distribution, cash flow, you name it, are core beliefs that I think separate us, which is why I think our advisor base does bigger case designs.
Yes.
And those cases are stickier and clients stay with us longer. So, coming from a different firm and then being introduced to living balance sheet a few years ago, what was that like when you saw, okay, is this something that's really really separates people from others, or are we just kind of saying that?
Yeah, so great question, because I will say this. When I was at other organizations, we actually used to recruit against the living balance sheet. We would say, oh, yes.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Okay, now we're getting into the good stuff here. I want to hear about that.
Well, more from like the sound bites of it. It's like, oh, Guardian, and they're drinking the Kool-Aid on the living balance sheet. It's just e-money. It's just another financial planning tool, because you don't walk into any financial services organization and they don't say, they all say the same thing. They all say, we have a great financial planning tool. Like they all think they have the best thing since sliced bread, and they all talk trash about the other organization's financial planning tool. So we used to say, oh, it's just, they're drinking the Kool-Aid. Then I got to Guardian, and I kind of had a little bit of that. It's just the Kool-Aid drinking. But then when you get here and you really see, to your, to all of the points that you made, the philosophy that it brings to the table, it is second to none in the business, and it's absolutely a unique differentiator. I know specifically, several experienced advisors that have joined us that have echoed the same comments to me. They're like, Katie, we didn't believe it till we were here. It has made such a tremendous difference in our practices. We thought we were giving great advice. We thought we were financial planners before. This has been game changing for our practices and most importantly, for our clients. So I definitely had a little bit of something to say about it, and my mind quickly changed.
Yeah. And I think from the producer perspective, one of the things that keeps myself and my team motivated and very energized to be in the business is the pride that we have. We look at other people in the industry or clients that we meet that are in good shape or doing very well when we meet them, and they don't have the proper amount of protection. They don't have the proper amount of liquid assets. They don't have the proper amount of savings or the amount of money that they would want on their balance sheet. And after a couple of years of working with us, they have all of those things. And we've experienced clients passing away, clients coming into hardships, COVID, where all of these things played a role, where I look back at our young advisors and I say, if we didn't do this, where would they be? If they stayed with who they were with or didn't do anything, where would they be? Because their plan was so enhanced by the work that we did. And I think that helps us a lot with retention too, because it's not just about the amount of money that you can get, but how can you service your clients? And whenever you're getting referred the way that we're getting referred, how big can the check be for the amount of new names that we're going to get from our happy clients to actually magnify what the true value of staying and servicing them the way that we do now is?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the value of being in this, this career, and what it really can provide is as a financial professional, being able to service your clients, make an impact, make a difference in people's lives, and be the differentiator at, frankly, some of the hardest times in folks' lives.
Right.
Like, it's so powerful. So you're spot on, where it's not just about, being a business owner and having unlimited income and the potential that provides. It is the ability to really make a difference. And I think that really resonates with today's candidate. and why it's so important for us to make sure we're bringing in new professionals into this career so we can be a growing profession, because we have so many underserved markets, so many underserved communities, and folks need our help so that they can get through some of the
Yeah.
most challenging parts of what they're gonna, face in their lifetime.
There's a powerful story. One of our new reps, been with us maybe 2 years now,
Mhm.
met with a good friend of his. And through our philosophy around having the right amount of life insurance, which was a human life value conversation, as opposed to like a basic needs-based
Right.
analysis, went and got an additional $3 million of Guardian term insurance.
Yeah.
Young family starting off.
Yep.
Within a very short period of time after, had a headache, went in and basically has terminal brain cancer.
Oh my goodness.
That now Guardian, to their credit, the client's now on waiver of premium.
Yep.
They're like, if this doesn't turn out the way, obviously that young family would want it to be from a health perspective, this young agent rep with the firm is going to show up with a $3 million check
Mm-hmm.
and has changed the course of that client's life
Yeah.
forever. And a basic needs analysis, that check would be maybe 500,000.
Yeah, if that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think that's where our core convictions and our belief system around what matters for a client has now changed the course of that family forever.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in the business for less than a year when that client or when that prospect became a
Right.
client. Like, that's the type of thing where it happens, and there's young families out there who need to hear from us.
Absolutely.
And not necessarily other firms, because other firms would lead them down a path that's not optimal. And that's what's so good, I think, about the living balance sheet is that the core belief is around how can we position you to be optimal in every aspect of your financial life. That way that no matter what happens in the markets and your life and all that stuff, the outcome is, by definition, has to be optimal.
Yeah.
So, the more we can tell stories about the impact we have, I think the better.
So powerful.
And
Yeah.
that's one of the really cool things about Guardian too, is even doing something like this, where we can just sit here, talk. It's going to go through compliance, but we know everything that we're saying is right, and it's going to be fine to put out there. We can give information, and Troy kind of runs our back office and in terms of emails and people that comment. But the amount of people that reach out and just say that the content has helped them, and pretty soon we're going to be able to give people a link to the living balance sheet. So we're not going to be able to meet with all of the people that watch these videos or do different things, but we're going to be able to give them the information and give them a person to reach out to.
Yeah.
And just provide more information, because there are a ton of people consuming content like this. And there are so many firms out there that would never let an advisor in front of a microphone to give information, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
And then there are people that are not part of firms that just give terrible information.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
misinformation out
Yep.
there,
And
which we need
Unlicensed
to.
people who
Yeah.
are not regulated by anybody.
Yeah,
are
that we
talking
need
about.
to overcome again by having more financial
Right.
professionals who are, brought into the business in the right way, have the right philosophies so that we can, help those tailwinds, because it's, there's a lot of misinformation
Right.
and people are getting poor advice.
Yeah.
And people are looking at platforms like this. So if you go to a firm where we talk to a bunch of younger people, they go, tell us about your social media. Tell us about content. What
Yeah.
can we do? How can we be creative? How can we express ourselves in ways that people our age interact? This is a really good platform for us to do that, where I know, even with our company 5 years ago, there's no way that they would have let us do something like this. So other companies that just aren't moving as quickly as us are still behind the times. And I think it's such a competitive advantage for people to join a firm like ours and really just get exposure to all different kinds of things. Because again, like you said, you have no clue what your path is. When I came in, there's no way that somebody would have said, you're going to be running an agency and there's going to be dozens of advisors and all these staff people that you're in charge of. I'm like, no, I'm going to go and sell, and that's my thing. I'm going to be an advisor and never talk to anybody. And now 15 years later, I'm like on the total opposite end of where I thought I would be.
Yeah.
It's funny because,
Same.
like, when I joined Guardian in 2004, my first business plan said that I wanted to own my own agency within 10 years. And we talked about Guardian's pathway to partnership.
Yeah.
Hands down, the best pathway to go from a producer to a partner to an owner. And 9 years and 6 months later,
There you are.
we became the principal owners of, Alliance Financial Group down here in Southwest
Mhm.
Florida. So it's like I said, very
Yeah.
different pathways to get
Mhm.
there. But I knew when I joined the Guardian, one of the reasons why I joined was because I wanted to, at some point in time in the future, be one of the people in charge. Um, it was never promised to you, but Guardian gives you the opportunity to create what you want it to look like.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for bringing that up because I will say it's a huge differentiator for Guardian. Hands down, we have what I personally think the best leadership development in the business.
Mhm.
Again, being at different companies,
Mhm.
recruiting a lot of experienced advisors from various companies across the whole industry. Guardian has the best leadership development program. They continue to invest in it, where we see other companies pulling back from investing in national leadership programs. So, if leadership is your path, like this is 100% the place to be to grow because what not only the local firm provides for development, but the offerings that we have, like it's second to none. So, Mike, I know that you've been a part of like the leadership programs. You're one
Right.
of our
Mhm.
top leaders across the country. Like anything you'd add there?
Yeah, I think it gives you the opportunity to pick. So I came from a company where originally you go into leadership. If you get picked, you go to their main office in some city that everybody goes to. They train you, and then they pick what city you now live in. And I was like, this is terrible. I want to pick where I live. So I started my career in Cleveland, had a successful practice, chose to move to Naples, and I was able to do all of that and still join a leadership. And now, as we've partnered and have grown this agency, I don't have to move my family
Yeah.
to be where I want to be and get to the level that I want to be at. And Guardian has helped every step of the way in doing that. But it gives you the creativity and really the confidence to do it. Because if somebody said, "Hey, Mike, you're going to be a great leader, but we're going to move you to, I don't know, middle of nowhere, like Western America," like, I don't know that I'm gonna be excited to do that. I don't know anything about the culture. I don't know anything about the people.
Yeah.
It's not where I'm choosing to live, but a lot of these models, they just like throw you in this pot. They shake it up
Yep.
and they're like, "Okay, you go here. We think you're a good fit." To me, that just never made sense.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. Love it.
It's a fun ride when you're with the Guardian. I
Right.
think,
Mhm.
there's so many opportunities that I think so many people are stuck because of a fear of getting into this business, right? And then they wake up 15, 20 years down the road and they're stuck in a W-2 job that they hate. They
Mhm.
don't feel like they're getting fulfillment from that. And one of the questions I would ask is, how would you go about enticing somebody who maybe is comfortable in their W-2 job, who feel like they have job security, but I don't think they really do because you just never
You
know.
never know. You never
Um,
know.
how do you encourage someone to make that leap from
Yeah.
a perception of security to, wow, now I'm going out and becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a real fear. It's a real fear for folks, and I think number one, acknowledging it is important. But to your point, there is never job security. Working
Right.
in now
Mhm.
on the corporate side of things, there's always changes that happen, organizational structure changes, and you could be doing phenomenal, and then you might wake up the next day, and there just could be a
Mhm.
restructure, and you no longer have a position where that's never going to be the case here. That's never going to be the case as a financial professional. As long as you're honest and ethical, you're
Right.
always going to have the
Mhm.
opportunity to be successful if you have that grit and perseverance inside of you. And while you're kind of maybe in corporate America making money for the man, I would say, here you're building something for yourself. You're building generational wealth for your family and you're making that direct impact. It's interesting on the home office side, I get to like globally see potentially the impact of the healthy organizational growth that we're having, but I don't get like the day-to-day interaction and you miss that a little bit. You miss seeing how you're actually able to make an impact in somebody's life. So, I would say if you're kind of stuck in that W-2 job, you're never safe. There's never security around there. This, I think, has more security than anything that I've seen. Again, as long as you're
Mhm.
honest and ethical. And then the direct impact that you make and the fulfillment that this could bring, and the fulfillment this could bring is being a business owner and having something to pass down to your family, or the generational wealth you can build, it's, it's
Sounds like you want to get back into a producer role. I'm just saying, I mean, we might want the home office not to see how excited you would be about becoming a producer, but if you want
sunny Florida.
if you want to move down to Florida and come partner with us, that'd be fantastic.
I do love sunny Florida. Yeah. My younger one, she's a senior, she's graduating. We'll see where we'll see where the road takes me.
Yeah. Well, this was great. Thank you for taking some of your time down here with us to shoot this episode. And reach out to us with questions. If you have questions about the career, questions about kind of what we do on a day-to-day basis, Troy answers emails, our Instagram. I mean, reach out on all the different platforms, and we'll kind of give you the true like rundown of what it is. We have a ton of really good marketing material, things that are already put together for people coming into the career, but we're going to talk far more about what this is doing, because especially now, we're seeing a huge wave of people that want to become entrepreneurs and people that are kind of creating these side gigs and starting to get a taste of business ownership.
Yes.
And they're getting closer and closer to taking the leap. So we're going to highlight this far more on future episodes. So Katie, thank you again for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Okay.
Yeah. Great.
This podcast is intended for general public use and is for informational purposes only. By providing this content, Park Avenue Securities, LLC, and our financial representatives are not undertaking to provide investment advice or make a recommendation for a specific individual or situation, or to otherwise act in a fiduciary capacity. This information should be relied upon only when coordinated with individual professional advice. Jerry Hemmer is a registered principal. Mike Longo is a registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, PAS. Securities products and advisory services offered through PAS, member FINRA, SIPC. Jerry Hemmer is a general agent, and Michael Longo is a financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, NY. PAS is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Alliance Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian. Michael Longo, CA Insurance License 0M21715. AR Insurance License 158383330. 8719485.1 expires 128.